The cabin lights flickered once, twice. Then the intercom crackled with a calm young woman's voice cutting through the screaming alarms. "Tower, this is Viper Actual. I have the aircraft." Outside the windows, 2 F-22s banked hard and held position like statues in the sky. Before you watch the full story, comment below. Which country are you watching from? And don't forget to subscribe because tomorrow's story might be even bigger. She sat in 23A with a faded gray hoodie pulled over her knees and a worn leather backpack at her feet. No jewelry, no phone out. Just a paperback novel open on the tray table and the soft habit of watching the wingtip lights instead of the movie. The first officer had glanced at her once during boarding and smiled the way people smile at quiet passengers who won't cause trouble. The senior flight attendant had offered her water with the same polite distance she gave every other traveler in economy. Nobody looked twice at the woman who kept her seatbelt fastened even after the seatbelt sign went off. Somewhere over the Pacific, the vibration started. Not the usual airframe chatter. A low, uneven thrum that rolled through the floor and up into the armrests. Most people shifted and went back to their screens. She felt it in her bones first. The same frequency she used to feel through the stick of an old T-38 on a bad day. A memory flickered. Night training over the Nevada desert, her instructor's voice in the headset. "If the jet talks to you, listen before it starts shouting." She closed the book and rested her fingertips lightly against the window frame, counting the rhythm. 3 beats. Pause. 2. Not normal. Not yet emergency. Just wrong. The first officer's voice came over the cabin speakers a few minutes later, calm but clipped. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a minor technical issue. Nothing to worry about." The vibration grew heavier. A soft chime sounded from the cockpit door, systems talking among themselves. Then the left engine note changed. A rising, uneven howl that made the windows tremble. Warning lights the passengers couldn't see began to cascade across the instrument panels. The aircraft yawed left, then right, the autopilot fighting something it no longer understood. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. Pacific Air 447 declaring emergency. Left engine failure, hydraulic anomalies requesting immediate vectors." The captain's voice was steady, but the tension underneath it was clear. The senior flight attendant moved through the cabin with the practiced urgency of someone who had rehearsed this 100 times and never wanted to live it. Passengers started to notice. A child began to cry. Someone 2 rows up whispered the word engine, and the whisper spread like smoke. She sat perfectly still. The backpack at her feet felt heavier than it had any right to. Inside it was the only thing she had kept after the board stripped her wings. 1 faded unit patch and a single photograph of a younger version of herself standing on a flight line at dusk, helmet under one arm, call sign stenciled on the side of the jet behind her. Viper. They had taken everything else. The medical board said the migraines were disqualifying. The safety board said the near miss over the Gulf had been her fault. They banned her from military flying forever. Civilian airlines wouldn't touch her either. So she flew as a passenger and tried to forget the sky still knew her name. The aircraft rolled hard left. Oxygen masks dropped with a sudden clatter. The first officer's voice cracked over the speakers for the first time. "Brace positions. This is not a drill. Stay with me here, because what happens next is the part nobody saw coming." She unbuckled. The senior flight attendant blocked the aisle with both arms. "Ma'am, sit down. Now." The woman in the gray hoodie looked past her toward the cockpit door. "I need to speak to the captain." The attendant's face hardened. "You need to sit down before you hurt someone." A passenger in a business suit barked, "Let the professionals handle it." The aircraft shuddered again, harder. Warning tones bled through the bulkhead. She took 1 step forward and spoke so quietly only the attendant could hear. "Tell them the left hydraulic pump is cavitation feeding the aileron actuators. They'll confirm it in the next 30 seconds. If they don't, we're going to lose roll control completely." The attendant stared. Then the cockpit door cracked open and the first officer's face appeared, pale, sweat at the temples. He looked at the quiet passenger, then at the attendant, then back. "How the hell did you know that?" She met his eyes. Because I've flown jets that tried to kill me the same way. Would you have broken cover and revealed a classified call sign to save hundreds of strangers? They didn't believe her at first. The captain ordered her out. The first officer argued. The senior attendant stood between them like a wall. Only when the aircraft snapped into an uncommanded left bank and the stick forces went heavy did the captain's voice change. Get her up here, now. She stepped into the cockpit with the backpack still in one hand. The photograph slipped halfway out. The captain glanced at it, then at her face, then at the patch. Recognition flickered and died under the weight of the emergency. She slid into the jump seat, headset already on her ears, voice steady as glass. I've got the radios. You fly. I'll talk us through the rest. The second engine began to surge. Fuel flow readings went erratic. She called the checklist from memory, voice low and precise, never raising it even when the cabin altitude warning blared. Crossfeed open. Isolate left hydraulic. Dump fuel to landing weight. We're going to need every pound of performance we can keep. Outside, 2 F-22s from a nearby exercise had already been vectored toward the distressed airliner. Their pilots listened on guard frequency, waiting for the civilian crew to sort itself out. Then her voice came over the net again, calm, almost gentle. Raptor Flight, this is Viper Actual. I have the aircraft. Request you hold visual and stand by for any assist. Silence. Absolute stunned silence on the military frequency. Then one of the F-22 pilots, voice tight with disbelief. Say again, call sign. She repeated it once. Viper Actual. The lead Raptor's wings rocked once in acknowledgement. The second jet slid into perfect trail. Neither pilot spoke for a long moment. They simply held position, engine silent relative to the stricken airliner, as if the sky itself had paused. She flew the emergency descent with the captain's hand still on the controls, guiding him through the residual hydraulic failures with quiet corrections. A third crisis hit on final. Gear unsafe indication, left main refusing to lock. She talked him through the alternate extension while the F-22s stayed close enough that passengers could see the pilots' helmets through the canopy. The landing was hard. The left gear collapsed just after touchdown. The aircraft skidded, sparks showering the runway, foam trucks already racing. When it finally stopped, the silence inside the cockpit felt louder than the alarms had. She sat for a moment with her hands in her lap. The backpack rested against her knee. The photograph had fallen completely free. The captain looked at it, then at her, and said the first words anyone managed. You saved us. She only nodded. Outside, the lead F-22 taxied slowly past the foam-covered airliner, canopy open, pilot's gloved hand raised in a single, deliberate salute. Tower frequency crackled one last time. Pacific Air 447 confirmed the call sign of the pilot who brought you in. The captain answered for her, voice rough with something that wasn't fatigue. Viper Actual. The controller repeated it slowly, almost carefully. Viper Actual. Welcome home. She picked up the photograph, slid it back into the backpack and walked off the aircraft with the same quiet steps she had used to board. No one stopped her. No one needed to. The sky had already remembered her name.